Welcome back to Talking Water, another episode looking at issues that have arisen in the water industry. I've got Graham Mann from switchwatersupplier.com alongside me, and every month he comes in with something else that's come up in the industry, and it's usually things that get you a bit annoyed. And this one really has. I know when you're peeved, Graham, and this is something that's really peeved you.
Yes. I don't know if everybody's heard of the Canal and River Trust, but it's probably the fees. If any businesses are discharging their surface water into any of the Canal and River Trust assets, for example, canals, rivers, that sort of thing, then they're in for a shock with regards to the fees that Canal and River Trust have adopted that and have been adopting for several months now, for using their asset to drain off surface water runoff from business premises.
So this is not what we might have been talking about and hearing about in the news, which is excess water and effluent sewage. No. This is literally water that comes out the sky, lands on your business and runs off.
Runs off into a pipe that goes into a canal or a river. Incidentally, I made a slight error there. It's not only businesses that are getting these charges. They're spilling out into residential developments now. And I was contacted recently by a facilities management company that manages development of flats alongside a river, and they received a bill for nearly £50,000 for the collection of rainwater from these particular flats. And the developer signed a deal during the development about 9-10 years ago, and since the developers relinquished the responsibility for the site and passed it on to the owners, the flats are all now full. This nearly £50,000 is due and payable under the terms of a reassigned contract from the developer to the facilities management company, and they'd never even seen sight of this contract until recently, when the Canal and River Trust are banging on the door, threatening legal proceedings to prevent them from discharging this water from this residential development.
So this is just a block of apartments, regular block of apartments, and all the water that's going in to the river is just the runoff. It's what lands on the roof, goes down the drain pipes, goes into the grid, runs out into a pipe. And they're charging for that. I mean, you can imagine there would be a fee to put something into the river, but where have we gone from in terms of the cost originally? Was it a matter of pounds and pence, and now it's thousands of pounds and pence?
Well, the thing is with this, David, we've dealt with the Canal and River Trust many times, where businesses have come to us and said, we just received a bill for £25,000-30,000 with no explanation. And there are traditionally many hundreds, if not potentially thousands, of businesses that have had legacy contracts where they might be paying, I don't know, £100 a year or something like that. And the Canal and River Trust are ripping up these agreements and adopting what they term as water company tariff charges for the collection and disposal of rainwater, called surface water charges. So if, for example, you're in the Severn Trent area, or you're in the South Staffs area, or Thames Water, or whatever geographical area you are, then they will adopt those charges for the collection and disposal of rainwater and charge them to anyone that's discharging into their asset. Now, this particular case is pretty disappointing, really, from Canal and River Trust point of view, because they were the facilities management company that represent the tenants on there. I think there's about 6 to 8 blocks, something like that. And this is last year's charges, so this year's charges bill's got to come out, and that'll be the total of nearly £100,000. So that could be £600 or £700 that these tenants have got to pay up immediately, or face some sort of court proceedings against them.
So just for water that's running off the top of the flat, it might never touch the apartment that you live in, and yet you're going to have to pay £2-3 a day for water that, I know there's more rain coming down, but it feels like that. But this doesn't seem right.
Well, I've asked them various sets of questions. One of them is, on what basis is your charge calculated? I've had nothing back. Okay. I've also asked them for a copy of the contract, and they said, "Oh, please see the assigned contract from the developer." Well, that's an assigned contract, but the FM company concerned, which represents the tenants on site, has never seen this contract until recently, and this was apparently assigned to them, their tenants, 5 or 6 years ago. So I don't deem that as a contract. But
as a contract, you need both parties
to agree
to the terms.
Absolutely.
Surely.
They can't tell me what the tariff is. It's just they've come up with this figure. And the horrifying thing is that it can be increased by the retail price index, or inflation, which this year was rocking at 8%. So I guess, on the next year's charges are going to be, another 4 or 5 grand on top, just in interest, and that's compound. So you imagine in 10 years' time, they cough up £200,000-300,000 a year, and they're not millionaires' penthouse flats. It's in an area of North London, and the residents are actually up in arms. It's another story that is developing, and it'll probably get out into the media space now because the tenants are actually writing to their MPs. So you can imagine now we've got a Labour government, and the Labour government get hold of that, then we could see some quite serious, investigations going on.
Now we all want to look after the rivers and the canals, watercourses. It's been a hot potato in the election campaign. It's been brought up a long time before that as well. That there's stuff going into our rivers that we don't want going in. But you're talking about literal rainwater, which 10 yards further down. I mean, are they charging the council for? If it's running off a council road and goes into a river, are they going to charge the council? I mean, I suppose they could. They could effectively say
if when they identify those businesses or residences that are discharging rainwater into this big pipe. It's quite a large pipe. Put a photograph up actually, but it's quite large diameter pipe, and it looks as though it's been there decades. So this is a legacy situation, and the charges. I think they just come up with the charge and impose it, and the reply is, well, you're discharging into our asset. If you don't want to discharge into our asset, then we'll block the pipe up, and you can discharge it into Thames Water's sewage works.
And if you're being charged £100,000, I mean, the cost of just diverting that pipe into the sewage. Well, I mean, it's going to be a lot, but it might be less than £100,000.
Yeah,
so it's still work to do, and it's still a big bill that and I suppose that bill will still be there because it's back charges for water that's already run in.
One of my main concerns about this is, and I've dealt with various cases over the years, and this is topped out to be one of the most interesting, is because this has been imposed on residential customers. Okay, and the figure is just plucked out of the sky, and there's no regulation. There's no regulatory
ombudsman
body
that can go to.
No, absolutely not. Prince Charles used to be in charge of that organisation. It's a charity. I think what's happened is, over the years, that the government were putting in a contribution to the Canal and Rivers Trust, and over the years, with this austerity, I think the amount of money that's been brought in has been cut back from government, and they're looking at alternative ways of maintaining the canals and waterways for the good of us, people that own the assets. Ultimately, I just think that there are better ways to do it. I think the way they're doing it is quite how can I say? It feels like an imposition. You will do this, or we will block the pipe. And I'd like to see some sort of published tariff that's agreed, and not just plucking a figure out of the air. And anyone who's got legacy contracts going back over the years with British Waterways, I think, prior to the Canal and River Trust, then they're probably going to be reviewed, and those charges will go up substantially. And anyone that's developing alongside of the rivers and the canals, if they think they're going to be putting water into the infrastructure free of charge, they might like to check with the Canal and River Trust first before they decide to where their drains are going to be pointing, either in the Canal and River Trust asset or the local water company.
I told you he was peeved. He is peeved. Graham Mann from SwitchwaterSupplier.com. And again, these figures come up, these issues come up when you go and help people and work with them, and you will try your best to sort this out as much as you can. But
Absolutely.
sometimes you're up against quite... Well, these will be the lawyers, won't they? Who getting involved in contracts and things. But you get your hands dirty in different ways.
I've come to an agreement with the Canal and River Trust on a number of cases, and I'm quite happy to take this on. I've taken this on with these guys, but give us how did you arrive at this number? Well, that's the number. Well, I think there needs to be an investigation. By central government, perhaps, of how this organisation is being run and the impositions they're putting on business and residential customers. So it might well be a case that we have to write to the MPs and ask them for their intervention and have a thorough investigation as to how this charity is being run.
I imagine that's a topic that we will certainly come back to in future episodes of Talking Water. But for now, my thanks to our guest once again from SwitchwaterSupply.com, Graham Mann. We'll see you next time discussing all the topics that matter in the water industry in Talking Water.